welcome back to another episode of Soulful Sundays with Madge. If you are new to this channel, my name is Madge and I want to thank you all for joining me while we discuss obstacles that come up at different times in our life and how our perspective can be a great tool in helping us to overcome the challenges that life can present. As always, if you like what you receive, feel free to hit the like button. You can leave a comment below. Ring the bell to subscribe to the channel. This way, when I upload, you will receive notification each week. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at askmadge18@gmail.com. And with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get into this week's topic, which is self-sabotage. So if you know or don't know, I moved this week. I officially moved into my new house on Friday, and I have boxes everywhere. I have furniture that's backed up until probably like September, but truly I am making the best out of everything. However, what I did realize though, over this past week, one of my old friends started to creep into my mind, and that is a very comforting friend called self-sabotage. And right beneath my self-sabotage is embedded with control and the lack of patience. So because I lack patience, I want to control the outcome, how things are presented in my life, and then hence self-sabotage comes. So I bring all this up because this week I moved into a new house, and this is supposed to be an exciting time for me. But the enemy of my mind wanted me to focus on everything that was beyond my control. Everything that really was not of importance or should not have been my focus point, but wanted me to enhance. And then those negative thoughts came in. And then with those negative thoughts came in, it was, well, maybe I can do this or rearrange this in a way to make me feel better, or whatever the case may be. And it didn't work. If anything, it actually made me feel worse, and it took away from the high of what the moving moment in my life was supposed to represent to me. And to be honest with you, I came across to myself as very ungrateful for the blessing that had been given to me and my family. And what it made me think about was a book in the Bible. The book in the Bible is Exodus. And it made me think about how God had gave Moses the purpose, the calling to go and get the Israelite children out of bondage, out of being held captive by Pharaoh. And so this process of Moses going to get the children out of being held captive in bondage was supposed to take 40 days for Moses to lead these children from slavery into the wilderness to the promised land. But what happened was it ended up taking 40 years. Now, I would say to myself, let's bring this into real life terms. And I'm gonna go back to this book. But let's talk about real life. Have you ever seen so clearly in other people's lives what they're doing, whether it's they have financial issues but they love to spend, and you're like, girl, or if this dude would only stop spending, maybe they would stop complaining about their lack of never having money or being unable to pay their bills. Or maybe it's procrastination, and you're like, oh wow, if only this person could actually stop procrastinating and get up and do some things, they could actually probably accomplish the goals that they really want to accomplish, right? So I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I can always see so clearly what's going on in other people's lives. But how often do we actually turn our set of lenses back inward and take a look at our blind spots and ask ourselves, what are the things that we're doing that are keeping us hostage, keeping us in our own bondage? Let's remove Pharaoh and realize that our Pharaoh can be our very own mind, holding us captive, holding us in bondage, keeping us from our promised land, and unable to learn certain lessons in our life that may have been a lesson that we could have learned in 40 days. And maybe now it's still 40 years later and we're still circling and doing the same things over and over again, trying to understand how we're going to get from underneath where we're at. So we go back to this book in the Bible, Exodus, and we look at Moses and the Israelite children, then we can now begin to have some compassion on how it could have taken a 40-day mission and turned into 40 years. Because in life, so often, we have things that we need to overcome that could very well have been 40 days and it takes us 40 years. But what I've learned even in my week of moving and wanting to understand where my blind spot, my Pharaoh in my mind is self-sabotaging ways. What I've come to realize though is that if we don't overcome our Pharaohs, if we don't overcome the challenges that continuously hold us back, we will always be in a place where we're circling in the wilderness like Moses and the Israelite children were, trying to figure out how we're going to get to our promised land. Thank God I did realize in a day that I was creeping into my self-sabotaging ways, and that if I didn't get myself in check really quick and change my mindset, I could actually be taking away from so many great opportunities and blessings that God has in my life and are waiting to continuously be revealed to me. But I just have to learn how to get out of my way. I have to learn how to have patience. And if I have to be really brutally honest with you, a lot of things that I have lost, that I've lost in life, or that have taught me the biggest lessons in a sense of why I lost it, was because I didn't allow enough time to see. I wanted it when I wanted it, and I rushed the process. And a lot of times by me rushing it, I didn't come into the full knowledge or full understanding of what I was getting myself into. And a lot of times it would crash and it has burned because I wanted to manipulate the situations in my life. I wanted them how I wanted them without seeking true understanding in what I was doing. And so I'm learning that I might have to do things a different way in my life. I might have to learn to release control in certain areas in my life and just surrender to the process of letting life naturally unfold, knowing and trusting that I am taking the right steps that are going to help me get out of the wilderness into the promised land. So I don't know about you and what your blind spots are and what your pharaohs of your mind are, that you may feel like every time you almost are there, something happens and it just seems like you don't quite get to where you're going. What I want to tell you though is the beautiful thing with the Israelite children and Moses is that the whole time they were in the wilderness, God was right by their side. God was shining a light to lead them in the darkness. God was providing and feeding them. He was never allowing them, sorry about my timer going off, He never allowed them to be alone in it. And even though what was 40 days took 40 years, God was always there. Like, I'm with you until you get the lesson, until you learn it. And when you learn it, we can move on so that you can get to the promised land. So my point to you is that no matter how long it's been, if it's been 5 years and you just continue to seem like you're stuck and you keep repeating the same behaviors and patterns that are contributing to your wilderness and contributing to your bondage, and you're just like, why do I keep going through this? What I want to let you know is that you're not alone, and that there's no expiration date on if you don't learn it, you're stuck wherever you're at. It's not true. So just know that you can always keep trying and keep working towards obtaining the lesson or obtaining what it is that you need to learn so that you can continue to move forward and that you can get to your promised land. So with that being said, you know, I always want to end with a quote or a Bible verse, something that we can take with us to encourage us. So the quote that I am going to leave us with is by George Eliot, and it reads, hold your head. Sorry, I'll repeat it. It reads, hold up your head. You were not made for failure. You were made for victory. Go forward with a joyful confidence. So I thank you so much for tuning in another week with me. And I want you to stay encouraged, and I want you to keep working your goals. Be a go-getter. You can get this. You can do this. We do not have to spend 40 years in the wilderness of our mind. So let's get out there and let's do whatever we need to do so that we can get to our promised land. And I want you to take care and have a blessed one. Bye.